Hey everyone, welcome back to your week ahead astrology breakdown. How are we doing? I want to touch base because Venus ingressed into Gemini around the 23rd of June. So it's been a couple days. And I like tracking Venus just because when she's not in a retrograde period, she moves through the signs quickly, but still long enough for really us to get a good taste of what she has to offer, right? Every about 3.5 weeks, she moves signs. And so I know personally, in the past couple days, there's just been really different things. Like even just my hair, usually I do like a little swoop back moment or off to the side. And I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot that I have like this really beautiful wavy hair that I just never appreciated. Back in like high school when the Harry Potter movies were coming out, like the third and fourth ones, they all had shags. If you guys remember or were around during that time, like 2006, 2007, I always like wanted that. I was like, oh, I just wish I had straight hair. But now I'm like, oh no, the waves are in. And I've been listening to country music. As in country music, I mean Dolly Parton, Capricorn goddess. And then I also got this pour over coffee Bodum set. It makes like the best coffee I've ever had in my entire life. And I've worked in cafes around the world and sought out the best coffee whenever I travel. So that was just in the past like 4 days. So I'm curious how you have all felt this Venus transit thus far. I bring this up because Venus makes some really nice transits this week, which are going to be really nice to note. So let me know. Also, really a good blessing for all of those with prominent Gemini energy. It's like an extra scoop of dessert after your season. And for those of you who have prominent Venus placements in air signs, so let's say your natal Venus is in either Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, this will just be a nice time for you to reap the rewards or some nice things coming in very easily. Okay. So just some food for thought as we jump into this week. And like I mentioned on the last week breakdown, this week we have a lot going on with the new moon, with some very prominent aspects with Mars and Pluto. And I think there's going to be lots to talk about. So let's dive in, shall we? Starting Monday, June 27th at 9 a.m. So at the start of the week, the moon is in her dark moon phase because we're going to be having that new moon in Cancer, which is very exciting, late on Tuesday, depending on your time zone. So for half of the people, you'll have the new moon on Tuesday. The other half, it'll be for you on Wednesday. But regardless, when we have a dark moon phase in that balsamic moon phase, we are in a state to slow down, wrap up loose ends, get everything ready for this new cycle. We can see here we start off with that moon Mercury conjunction. You might have been feeling very productive or clear-headed on Sunday, leading you to have a nice to-do list at the start of the week. It's like, I know I need to contact so-and-so, send off this email and finish off this business deal so that once we have this new moon energy, I can hit the ground running because as you'll see, there's lots to be excited about. And the moon is also making a really nice applied trine to Saturn. So productivity is high. We also have the moon making a sextile to Mars, Mars making a sextile to Saturn. So Monday's just a really good day to get a lot of things done. However, I don't want you to burn yourself out. I want you to be able to rest, relax, recharge, whatever you need to get done. But definitely anything of mercurial nature, anything of that Gemini communication, even just maybe brainstorming. I think a lot of times we forget how productive we can be when we are resting. Hello, we are in Cancer season. So take some time for yourself on Monday, whether it's your meditation practice, whether it's going for a walk, just to slow down to see what are ideas or different trains of thoughts, or like I talked about with that Venus transit of being now in Gemini, new ways of exploring pleasure or value or listening to different music or just trying something different that may make the rest of this week, month, year a lot more enjoyable. Okay. When we move to Tuesday, like I said, this new moon in Cancer is happening at 10:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. So still for a lot of us, we're in that dark moon phase on Tuesday. However, when the moon enters Cancer, she's now in her home sign. She's very happy. And look at this. Now the moon is making that applied square with Jupiter. So lots of things to discuss on this. One thing I will mention is that we talk a lot about water signs being intuitive, right? However, fire signs, when we work on instinct, what makes us happy, what feels good in the moment, that's also very intuitive. I always say that animals are very intuitive because they're instinctual. They don't go on conditions and how we have to treat people. They don't like someone, they bark, they sting, they run away. So with the moon now right about to reach her new moon phase, the moon making that square to Jupiter, Mars almost making that exact square with Jupiter. It's kind of just like, what makes you feel happy? What do you want to do? What new beginnings are you wanting? I just literally finished filming the new moon workshop, so I'll place the link in the description when it's ready. However, this could just be something as well in terms of nurturing or self-care and what you need to feel safe, what you need to feel loved, what you need to feel happy moving forward. And Venus now is making that sextile to Jupiter almost exactly. So this could be a beautiful moment of going through your home, going through your electronics, going through your wardrobe, office, whatever that may be, and releasing things that no longer feel good or that are triggering or that take you away from different modes of relaxation. If you always see something on your desk that is like, oh, I feel guilty because I'm not doing this or I'm not doing whatever it may be, then maybe place it away from your desk and putting it somewhere else, or shifting the energy of your home, or just quite literally, like I said, in any dark moon period, it's just release, recycle, donate, anything that is no longer serving you. We want to let that go so that when we reach the new moon, this is amazing. A lot of astrologers are really excited for this for good reasons. So like we said, first of all, the moon is in her home sign of Cancer. That's a huge check mark. It's a new moon energy. So like we talked about, now we have the sun and moon making that square to Jupiter. This is really important because we have a very, very strong mutual reception between the sun and Jupiter, because remember, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, the sun is exalted in Aries. So even though it's a square, it's like both of these planets want to help each other the most they can. And this is what I was talking about with the intuition with both water and fire. And these are both cardinal signs which speak of action, which speak of new beginnings. And it's a new moon. And it's just like all of these things are propelling us for some kind of new beginning, some kind of new start, something where, again, like we talked about with Venus and Jupiter, something that's going to make us feel very good. And it's going to come up later in the week as well. But in terms of pursuing something that feels really good and dealing with any residual conditioning or fear. But I don't want us to look at that right now because we'll speak on that. But I don't want you to get in your own way and say, well, I wish I always want to do this, or I wish I could do that, but it's not going to happen for me. This could never happen. Well, why not? Everything here is supporting us for something grandiose, for something that's really big, for something that could potentially be very, very powerful. And I want us to remember where we were during Capricorn season of this year, so the beginning of 2022, because that's when we had the full moon in Cancer, right? And that comes up tomorrow when we get to Thursday. But this lunar energy and what we're wanting to create, what we're wanting to nurture, what we need to nurture ourselves in regards to our health, our relationships, our career, our home, whatever that may be. It's like this is giving you a fresh start, a blank slate, a new beginning to just unapologetically pursue what you want, especially with Jupiter and Aries in the mix. Like this is just going to be something very fast. It could be spontaneous. It could be something where there are many things happening at once, kind of like I said during last week's breakdown, a cornucopia of blessings. So it could just be that there are so many things to choose from, or you get so many offers or so many lovers come into the scene or whatever it may be. It's just something really, really benevolent. So I clearly am excited about this. I could talk about it for a very long time. What I want to finish off before we move on is one, looking at the houses in your own natal chart that are ruled by Cancer and Aries. You can also even throw in Gemini, of course, just to track Venus and knowing that Venus is now in sextile to Jupiter during this new moon activation. And then also, if you have strong cardinal placements in and around 2 to 12 degrees, then you're obviously going to be feeling this square energy between the luminaries and Jupiter. So again, the cardinal signs are Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn. Okay. So lots to be excited about, lots to track. If you'd like the new moon workshop for even more details, you can check the description of this video. Now, Thursday, it's talked a lot about in spirituality, self-help, that when you make that really big decision, when you go after your dreams, that there might be that delay. One of my favorite comparisons, not delay, but there might be that moment of, what did I just do? Or that it doesn't work right away. Not always, doesn't have to be like that. But when we're switching to a brand new paradigm, the complete unknown, there might be that fear or that ego that comes to the surface. One of my favorite comparisons of this analogy is if you have, let's say, a casserole dish that you haven't cleaned, and now it's all crusted and hard. When you put the soap in the hot water, everything comes to the surface and it looks like it's dirty, or it's like double the mess to actually now have to clear all of that gunk off and then clean the dish itself. This day, when we're talking about Thursday, we still have the moon in Cancer, but now she's opposing Pluto, and there is a T-square with Mars. So we have the moon 24 degrees, Pluto 27, Mars at 26. So a couple ways to interpret this. One, it can be your lack of action is then causing some subconscious energies to come to the surface, or fears, or a fear of, what if I do this, or if I pursue this, does that mean that I'm not going to be as safe or secure, as loved as always wanted? Even though you've had the downloads all week, maybe all year, for your entire life, multiple timelines, however far you want to go back, you've had this core passion, this belief of what you've always wanted to do in whatever area of life that manifests for you. And you know it's going to benefit you. Here's another way of thinking about it. I give this comparison to clients and say, if you knew without a shadow of a doubt that your soulmate, your lover, your twin flame was going to land at the airport and they wanted to see you and you were going to embrace and have that intense love, if you knew that they were going to be at the airport, would you drop everything and get yourself to the airport to go greet them? Most people would say yes. Now, if you knew that investing into that program, into that coach, into that trainer, into that mortgage, into whatever it may be would benefit you, why are you not doing the exact same? Of course, for many, the answer is fear, or I don't have that money, but there's always ways to get money. There's always ways to find things to work. And a lot of people are like, well, no, you don't understand. I understand that there are many circumstances that may make it a challenge to maybe get a loan, or to work up the courage, or to diminish pride to ask for money, but there's always a way. And so with this T-square between the moon and Pluto, this opposition, and then them both squaring Mars, it just seems like if you're not taking action, it's going to make you more upset. Or the other flip side of this, how it can manifest, if you've taken the action, maybe you've partaken in the inspired action, you've sent the message, but now you're not getting the result that you want instantly. And you might be regretting. It's like, I shouldn't have sent that text, or I shouldn't have sent that email, or I shouldn't have quit my job, because now what if? And my advice would be not to go down that rabbit hole, and instead stay true to what's making you happy, what is going to bring that joy long-term, what are the downloads that came through, for you to trust your intuition, to trust that instinct of yours, your internal faculties, instead of allowing your internal self to be influenced by your external paradigms or realities or timelines that may or may not be permanent, right? And I say that because when we move to Friday, Friday is one of the best days of the entire week, even including the new moon. And here's why. So we have the moon in Leo making a trine to Jupiter. This is very fertile. This is very auspicious. We have the moon in Leo, what makes you happy, this passion, this heart of gold, this excitable energy, this spotlight energy with Jupiter. For those of you like in the entertainment industry, or are about to launch something, or want to be seen for something, or if you want to start manifesting something big, because let's say you've taken that inspired action, you're like, I'm going all in for the first time in my entire life. I'm pursuing this wholeheartedly. This can be where your prayers are answered, or where that hope or that push or that sign is going to really keep propelling you. So Thursday, like I said, is a day for you to work through your fears and doubts, and also remembering where you were during the full moon in Cancer, kind of flipping back at the start of this year, because that full moon in Cancer was around these late degrees of Cancer opposing Pluto. And I remember a lot of my clients were either going through a breakdown or a breakthrough at that time. And also, just to reiterate, on Thursday, if you have placements in late cardinal degrees, then obviously you're just going to feel this kind of, I would say, growing pains is a good way to describe this, or getting to the other side of fear to pursue everything you ever wanted and everything you've deserved your entire life. No biggie, right? And it's not that I'm making light of the situation. It's just these planets are speaking to us like this, and a lot of things are happening. And then we get to Friday. So Moon, Trine, Jupiter. Very auspicious, very fertile, pursuing and going after what you want that makes you happy, not concerning yourself with others. And this is a really big thing of that comparison, because we also have Mercury making a square to Neptune retrograde. So you could also be in the state of, well, I've always wanted this. Have you always wanted that? Or have you been conditioned to believe that that is going to make you happy? And so this is also a very big energy of be careful what you wish for. Mercury is also within a sextile range of Mars as we have this Moon Jupiter trine. So this is a very great day for manifestation, for spell work, for candle work, because we're still in that new moon phase and we have lots of fire and air energy in the mix. So you don't have to get overly stressed about candle work, magic work, manifestation work. It can literally, you just be lighting a candle and journaling. That is ritual in and of itself. If you want to do more intense thing with candle magic or spell work, or if you do consider yourself witchy or woo-woo in that way, Friday is phenomenal. And again, we talked about Venus and Gemini at the start, and Venus is also kind of in her best life here. So we have both benefics, Venus, Jupiter, in aspect to the moon. So we have this like pleasure sandwich going on of magic and goodness with regards to our passion, our thoughts, and our words. However, we also have Mars in the mix making a square to Pluto. And so this is really big around authority and action and long-term structures. And also, like we talked about, the fears and subconscious paradigms when the moon was in Cancer before. This could also be an energy where like unbridled passion, ambition, pleasure, whatever it is, we're like, I'm choosing this, even though my entire life I've been taught to do this. I also just think with all of this energy going on, that globally, something is probably going to be taking place with all the transits we've already discussed with that new moon, and now Mars making a square to Pluto. Like, this is no joke. We also have Mars in its home sign of Aries, which can be very volatile. It can be great for getting things done, for initiating, for going after what you desire. But against Pluto in Capricorn, this is also long-term power dynamic struggles and people really acting on that immediate emotion. And then you also have the moon Jupiter, where it's like this idealistic, heart-centered energy, where it's like, this is what I'm feeling so passionately, I'm going to pursue it. And then there might be this friction, or it's like these long-term structures or ideals are not allowing me to get there. So on an individual level, I have written down, stay in your lane and pursue what makes you happy. Be careful what you wish for. I've had a lot of clients talk about certain things that come up in their love life or career, and then they take a moment to be retrospective and they're like, well, actually, I asked the universe for a sign, or I asked for this in a different way, and now I'm getting it. It may not be in the way that I wanted, but it's actually serving them and allowing them to grow and evolve. So as you are writing things, if you're like, I want to be my own boss, or I want a lover who fulfills all my desires, it's like, okay, but are we sure that we can actually hold it? And if you can, great. But also know that there might be things that come up that need to be released in order to hold new energy. And that's what we were talking about at the start of the week, letting go and releasing with that dark moon energy before we get to this new moon energy. And that might be very prevalent. Like if you didn't take time over the past however many weeks, or at the start of this week, to get everything in order, you may now be coming face to face with this at the end of the week in order to recalibrate things or have those conversations, or things need to happen before we can pursue something else. Okay. So you guys know me, I could go on and on about this, but I will leave it at that, because when we get to Saturday, this is very intense, and for many different reasons, and not intense just in a way. People call Scorpios intense, and I'm like, that is not a bad thing. It just means that there's going to be a lot of energy in the mix. So if we look at this, you can see that we have a lot of squares going on, and it depends if you want to consider the nodes a point that you would want to make an aspect to. Some astrologers go back and forth. I personally do. I've been doing these week ahead breakdowns now for 8 months, 9 months. And I've like looked at certain things, and people have reported back that aspects to the nodes really affect them. So we are going to take this into consideration. And so we see a grand square happening. So with a grand square, it would almost be like 4 cars approach a 4-way at the exact same time. And it's rush hour, everyone's honking their horns, and no one's moving. So with the grand square, there is tension, there's conflict. Someone has to move first, or nothing's going to happen. Or if everyone tries to move at the same time, no one's going to get ahead, and it's just going to cause further frustration or delays. And so let's look at the things that are in play here. So we have Moon in Leo, Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, Uranus and North Node in Taurus, and then the South Node in Scorpio. So if we're talking about all the themes that we've discussed this week, what are you going to allow to dictate your actions? Is it going to be what you are truly passionate about and what sparks joy and love in your life? Is it going to be the restrictions and boundaries of the collective at this moment? Are you going to allow for innovation and change to go first? Or are you going to allow for fears and outdated paradigms to dictate how things are going to go? And of course, all 4 can influence the energy that's going on. And that's why I think with that Mars-Pluto square on Friday, it's going to cause a lot of these differing opinions and ideas to then spark debate or conversation over the weekend. It's also a lot of things like the 1st of July is Canada Day. The 4th of July is Independence Day in the States. So I just feel like there's going to be a lot. It's like a pressure cooker building to what's going to be happening over the weekend. And so on an individual level, you just have to decide how you're going to play with this. And we've been talking a lot about how fixed signs are just naturally going through it because of the nodes and Saturn being in Aquarius. And now whenever the moon is here, it just kind of adds to that dynamism or that pressure intensity, however you want to phrase it. So if we look at the grand square, I just want you to see what we just discussed, how you want to pursue and moving forward. Second of all, that moon making an opposition to Saturn, it might just mean you need to slow down or create better boundaries, or you've now pursued and taken action, but you need to be responsible and diligent. Say, these are my goals, these are my priorities, everything else doesn't really matter in relation to these things. So I need to create change, and it may cause change that is unexpected to others, or again, you might be on the receiving end of it, of certain people in your life or opportunities now shifting, which is going to cause you to change, or maybe you to reflect on where you can pivot or improve upon yourself, all while looking at this South Node in Scorpio and saying, what is the underlying theme or fears or doubts or just something that I can alchemize for myself moving forward? Okay. I'm getting like hot over here. I was like, yeah, there's something that's going to happen over this weekend. And again, this can be in a really good way. And just to reiterate on Friday, because we now see that Mercury is almost making that exact square to Neptune. So it's not, it can lead to spiritual and emotional bypassing, but I don't want your mind to get lost in, let's say, social media or other people's opinions when you're doing a lot of this work on your own, or when you need to care for yourself, your family, your community. So this is a week where you want to make sure that your energy, your mind, your soul are all in alignment so that you're not easily distracted, because it's kind of like you're running an obstacle here or a marathon this week where there's going to be a lot of highs and lows, and you don't want to get lost in the mix when there's so many things to take advantage of, or so many lessons to learn, or just a lot of pit stops along the way that are going to be transformational or have the high potential to be so. Okay. And then Sunday, this, of course, kind of builds on our question from last week. It's like, how do these breakdowns work if you live in different time zones? So we see here that the moon is in Virgo at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. So if you're still, let's say, in Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, then for most of Sunday, the moon is going to be in those final degrees of Leo, which is nice because then the moon is making that trine to Mars. And that can also be late into Saturday if you're living in North and South America, which is a vibe. Moon, trine, Mars. That's spicy. That's excitable. That could be pursuing all things that make us happy. Yes. However, on Sunday, when we have that moon, oh, sorry, I was going to mention as well, when we have nice moon Mars transits, especially in fire signs, I would just give Mars something to do that makes you happy, especially with Mars in Aries. So that can be, let's say, cleaning, knitting, going for a walk or a run with your dog, exercising, other things that move your body. It would just be something that when you can, like, I know for me personally, I have my natal moon in Aries. When I work out or when I'm walking, I get a lot of intuitive downloads. Same thing like when I'm taking a shower or a bath, because I have a lot of Scorpio energy, a lot of water. So for anyone, but especially if you have a lot of fire energy in your chart, moving your body or doing something physical could help you channel the energy or help you ground in from maybe overthinking to just channeling back from a heart space. So that's just something to do for all of Saturday. And then also leading into Sunday, especially if you're, what is that, east of the Atlantic? Yes, perfect. So for everyone else on Sunday with this moon in Virgo, this is kind of like clean up your life, get things in order, clean house. I love when the moon is in Virgo because you're really just like, what is not working? How can I clean this up? Or how can I improve structure to make this run easier? And after the week that we've had, you might just need to chill a little bit or rest your mind, which is also very valid. But it is a good energy, like I said, depending on what time zone you live in, either just to move your body, use that heat and that fire, or just do a little bit of cleaning and getting those kind of rudimentary things done, filling the fridge, getting laundry done, things of that nature. Okay. Honestly, everyone, I think this video is probably like 30 minutes, but I do want to talk about the astrology question of the week. So I get asked a lot about different aspects, but I know a couple of videos back, people are talking about Grand Trines. So whether that's a Grand Earth Trine, a Grand Water Trine, in transit, but I'm also going to talk about it natally just for a little bit. So Grand Trines, a trine is when planets or points are within 120 degrees of one another, right? Like a triangle. So a Grand Trine is when you have three different placements all within 120 degrees of one another. So they would be in the same element. So a Grand Water, Earth, Fire, or Air Trine. If you have this natally, it's very rare. It just means that you are going to be able to channel that element and the placements, planets, whatever is an aspect in that Grand Trine very easily. The one thing they say, even in just about trines in astrology, is that's free flowing, very auspicious. It can mean that beauty or intellect or talent just comes to you easily. I am obsessed with RuPaul's Drag Race. On the most recent episode, one of the contestants was able to make this beautiful gown in a day. All the judges were gobsmacked. They're like, how did you complete this in such a short period of time under a pressure cooker of a reality TV show competition? And so that could be an energy of a trine where for you, it just comes easily. And for other people, it's very challenging. So if you have a grand trine in your chart, that can mean it's just free flowing. On the opposite side, it can maybe draw upon jealousy or envy because everyone's like, oh, it just comes so easily to you, or that you can become complacent where you don't feel like you ever have to challenge yourself or stay on top of that because you've never ever had to. So when you face a little bit of adversity, then everything could crumble because you've never had to deal with any challenges or hardships in that way. So that's one way to look at trines and grand trines in terms of the positives and the perceived challenges. And I want to bring this up just with the chart this week. If we go back to Thursday, we can see that there's a grand water trine. So we have the moon in Cancer Neptune in Pisces, and then the South Node in Scorpio. And we're talking about how this T-square is also happening on Thursday. So we have a T-square happening and a Grand Water Trine. So I want you to pay attention to how this Grand Water Trine makes you feel. Of course, water, emotions, relationships, feelings, intuition. How are all these things coming to the surface, especially because we're talking about the moon and Neptune in relation to the South Node. So this could also be a really strong day for those of you who work with a therapist, who are doing a lot of that interpersonal growth right now, or a breakthrough in relationships, or just in the work that you've been doing, or in your spiritual faith. I'm not sure for those of you who can relate to this, but like when you're meditating and you get to a point where one of your practices, you're like levitating or floating and you're just like high after you've just meditated, and you get to that point where like every single day where it was maybe challenging, or I didn't feel like I wanted to put energy into this, and then I was able to feel this type of elevation or this peace, it was all worth it. That's kind of energy that I'm feeling for this, especially with the moon and Neptune. And then the South Node energy as well. This could just be something that you have to release or let go. And we talked about the T-square energy as well as the fear around action or inaction causing you to not be happy. And so I would really lean into the intuition part of this moon Neptune trine, which I'm not sure I actually talked about. So this Astro question serves us well, but also to, if we go into next week, and I'll just show you guys, this is a sneak peek, the moon is going to be in Scorpio on the 9th of July. So we're also going to see this Grand Water Trine come back into effect then. So for those of you who want to play with Grand Trines in transit, this, of course, would be something to look at this week, as we're going to feel it again next week as well with the moon in Scorpio. And naturally, if we're talking about the one that we deal with this week on Thursday, you can look to the houses in your own natal chart ruled by Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. Boom, we did it. So let me know how that all resonates. Let me know if there are any fun Venus in Gemini stories or manifestations that have already come through for you in the past couple of days, what we're looking forward to with that Cancer new moon. And one final thing to note, if you're interested in any kind of coaching, mentorship with me personally, please be sure to follow up. All of my rates are going to be going up on July 1st. So if you've been thinking about it, even if that's one-on-one astrology coaching, I do that as well, or life coaching, business coaching, mentorship, whatever that may be. If that's something that's been on your list and something that's been calling to you, be sure to get in touch on the Contact Us page on our website, and we can go from there. Thank you all for watching. Have a beautiful, phenomenal, energetically charged week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.